In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the visual control board. As you can see right here, this workstation is very clean right now. This is how it always needs to be whenever you're on the clock. You need to have a clean work area so that way people who are dropping off food have a clean table and space to put all the food down. And then as well, on the flip side, people who are picking up food have a clean area. There's no food or anything like that, extra food. So they can pick up the food that they need and bring it to the table that it needs to go to. So it's very important that you keep the workstation clear because you are not going to be the only person here using this station. There's multiple people, whether it's the cutter in the back, whether it's the kitchen manager, whether it's front staff who's running to go get food. They need utensils, they need to be able to access the visual control board, they need phones, they need to know the Feed the Family deal. So it's very important to update all of that information, have all of this set, put away, and organized at all times so that multiple people can come into this area, grab what they need, and then leave as fast as they can to make sure we get back to serving all the customers as fast as we can. So this is our visual control board. As you can see in the top left corner right up there, you can see we have a slight key. So this is where all of the information, all of the color coding information is going to be. But the purpose of the visual control board is to make sure that we are keeping track of everything that happens in the restaurant. So we have target times for each and every item. A couple of things that we keep track of, you can see right at the top, labor, underneath dine-in and carry-out times, underneath that, phone order, and then underneath that, delivery times. The purpose of the visual control board is so people can come in, whether it's kitchen managers, whether it's front staff, whether it's Gen 3, whether it's anything, can come in, they can look at the board, get all of the information they need just at a quick moment's glance, and then head back and do the jobs again. So we keep track of all of our information. As you can see, this is an example filled out from last night. So dine-in and carry-out, so you can see that times weren't very good. So 14 minutes, 13 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 16 minutes, all the way down to 5:30. Normally this needs to be filled out all the way to the bottom, but we did erase a little bit. But our target times, as you saw from the key up in the top left corner, for dine-in, you see it's about 11 or 12 minutes, and if it's above that, if it's 13 minutes, 14 minutes, all the way up to infinity, which hopefully it won't be, it's going to be color-coded as red so that everybody knows, hey, this is not a good time, alarm's going off, we need to make sure food comes out faster. And then we have, if it's, for instance, with labor, as you can see, we want to keep it 21 to 22%. Red would be above that, green would be below that. And you can see right here on labor, we have 23% down to 22%, up to 23%, down to 18%. So it's kind of went through a journey here, but it's important to note because it means that between 4:30 and 6 o'clock we made good adjustments and we got labor back down into our target, or even better than our target range. So keeping track of this information allows us to be able to adjust our staff, adjust our payroll, as well as make sure we have enough team members to satisfy every one of our customers' needs. And then over here on phone orders and deliveries for our Gen 3 or our delivery drivers, they can get an accurate time of how well deliveries or phone orders are going tonight. So whenever you're taking a phone order, somebody asks how long is the ticket time going to be, you can give them an accurate time. It's going to be about 15 to 20 minutes or something along the lines. As well as delivery times, when they ask how long the delivery is going to be, you can see it's going to be about 45 minutes to 60 minutes. So we have another section of the visual control board, it's the mistakes and problems area, as well as just general notes. So this section is for general kind of things that happen throughout the shift, every good things, bad things, all the kinds of things that happen. So if for example right here it says, the top one says number 82 got the wrong toppings, ticket number 82 got the wrong toppings. They wanted jalapeno and they got mushroom instead of jalapeno. So those are things that you know, so that way we can look at the data later, and it's very important that because managers need to document this every single night so that we can analyze all of the mistakes, all of the good things that we do through each and every shift, so that we can reduce the number of mistakes and work towards making sure we have a nice clean and polished shift every single night. So you can see as well, we have such a general note. So say we have a worker named Susan, and she was 15 minutes late. Just put a general note, Susan was 15 minutes late, so that we can note that for the logbooks as well. And then as well as good things. So you can see table 12 here. If they love the Greek salad, just put down on there, table 12 love the Greek salad. So that way we know our Greek salad is a good selling point. We can focus on selling the Greek salad, things like that, so we know. We make sure we can analyze the way that we're making tickets on the line, so we can make sure we don't put jalapenos instead of mushrooms or mushrooms instead of jalapenos, and we can make sure as well that we kind of advertise more towards Greek salad because people like the Greek salad, or just general kinds of information like that. So it's very important to know every single thing that happens throughout the shift. That way we can keep track of what we're doing well and what we're doing wrong. In this next session, we're going to talk about labor percentage and why it's important. So as you can see on the visual control board, we saw that labor percentage was the second category, and we have a range of about 21 to 22%. So what that means is that's the percentage of sales that the restaurant has made from today that's being allocated towards payroll. So it's a measure of how much money is leaving the restaurant to go to payroll. So it's very important that we keep this in check, because when it is too high, the restaurant is not profitable, and thus we are all out of a job because the restaurant goes under. So it's very important that we keep this on track. So when it's too low, that means we do not have enough people on staff. We need to make sure we get enough people on staff to make sure that we are getting food out very fast and we're having very good service as well. So it's very important for managers to know this, and they need to know a 30-minute update every single day. So every single manager, every single member of management needs to know this information every single day, every 30 minutes on the dot, so that way we can make adjustments accordingly. So as you can see right here, let's say it starts off at about 23%, that's in red. That means that we have too much going to payroll right now, so we need to make sure we have some people off the clock. That way we can get, sales back up, and we can make sure that all of that kind of stuff happens. It's very slow is what that means. 22%, that's our target. That's what we're going for, 21, 22%. If it's in either one of those, we make sure we mark it down in blue. Goes back up to 23%, which means we probably got one more person on the clock, or it dropped back down and it died again. So they made the adjustment, and then you can see they forgot to fill out the 5:30 mark, but at 6 o'clock, labor went back down again. So that means we had enough sales, and we had enough people to make sure that we had all of the good service and everything that we harp on every single day, and labor went back down to below our target percentage, which is both good and bad. So it's what we're aiming for, but we need to make sure that we have enough members of staff taking care of all of our customers as well. So either way, this is just a little detail about what the managers use it for, but it is very important that we fill out labor every 30 minutes, so that way management can make adjustments to labor as necessary. So as we said, it's very important. It's very, very, very important that we adjust. Get our labor numbers every single 30 minutes, every single time, every single 30-minute space and time. We make sure that we write down our labor, so that way management can make these adjustments. And when we say management, we mean all of the front of house leads, all of the kitchen leads, and all of the front of house and kitchen managers. They all need to know that information. So it's very important that you tell front of house and back of house. So your Gem 5 is basically the front door from the front house to the kitchen. So everything goes through the front door, it goes through the kitchen. So we need to make sure that we are constantly keeping that line of communication open with everybody, whether it's front of house, whether it's back stuff. But it's very important that we make sure that we tell every single member of management, so that we can make sure that we adjust labor accordingly. In this section, I'm going to show you how to get the labor data, how to access that information. Now, only certain people have access to the information. You may need to get a manager's help, but should you have access, this is the way that you would do it. So you need to go, type in your code, and hit go. So it's going to take you to the last screen that you were on, if you remember correctly. We're going to go back to the main menu here, and as you can see, we have a bunch of stuff, but we're going to go to labor reports right here. Labor reports, that's what we're looking for. And then right here, we will make sure that we are not on sales. Right up here, we're going to switch over to labor. So right here it's on sales, we're going to switch over to labor. Sometimes it loads up sales instead of labor. That's okay. We just need to make sure we get all of that information. So as you can see right here, this is where we're going to be looking. It says right now NA because we have no people on the clock and we have no sales because it is early in the morning. But that is where your labor percentage will be. It will be right there. They will do the math for you. They will calculate it. All you need to do is just write that information down in the correct color in the correct time slot. So whether it's 6 o'clock, 6:30, 7, 7:30, anything of the like. The last bit of information that we need to make about labor is that we need to make sure that we capture labor through the end of the night. So as you can see, we kind of erased up until 8 o'clock here, but all the way down through the end of the night. So if we close at 9 all the way through 9:30, even 10 if we're here till 10, 10:30 if we're here till 10:30, all the way through the end, because labor adds up through the entire course of the day. So this labor percentage number right here is the total number of labor, total number of sales going to payroll throughout the entire course of the day. It's not just for that 30-minute little snippet. It's the entire course of the day, so it is always adjusting, it's always fluctuating. So we need to make sure we adjust through the end of the night. And the reason being is because at 9 o'clock we have no, or at 10 o'clock when it's closed, we have no incoming sales. So all of that money is just going right towards labor. It's going right towards, so it's going to adjust our numbers a little bit. It's going to skew the labor percentage a little bit. So we need to make sure that we are adjusting through the end of the night, so that way the closing leads can look at labor percentage as well and say, hey, we need to really get out of here. We need to get out of here fast, that kind of information. We need to make sure that the closing lead has access to that information all the way through the end of the shift. In this section, we're going to go into a little bit more detail about how to record all of the ticket times for dine-in and carry-outs, as well as phone orders and deliveries. Go ahead. So we're going to jump over to the expediting screen here. You can see that we have a ticket in the system right now. It's got a salad, it's got a 16-inch cheese pizza, and an order of Zeppoli. So you can see right here that there are 3 tickets. Like we said before, we need to make sure we keep track of every single one by the ticket number right up here. Ticket number 2, ticket number 2, ticket number 2. This is all the same check right here. So as you can see, it prints in multiple facets. That's very important for this piece of the job that we're doing right here. So small garden salad, that's obviously going to come out first because it is the appetizer. We need our appetizers to come out first, but we do not record the ticket times for the appetizers. We record ticket times for the pizzas and the entrees. We need to make sure that the dine-in and carry-out and the phone orders and the deliveries are for either the entire order, or for dine-in and carry-out, the pizzas. We need to make sure we're keeping track of the pizzas, because that's the most important thing, because we can whip up a salad, we can whip up a dessert easy in about 4 or 5 minutes, whereas pizzas take a little bit longer. They take, on average, about 10 to 11 minutes, or 11 to 12 minutes, which is what our target time is, but it sometimes takes longer, sometimes takes shorter, depending on the number of tickets that we have. So that's why it's very important that we keep track of this information, because the pizzas are what matter, because they take the longest to make. So whenever a pizza comes out, this is obviously going to be inaccurate because we're at 2 minutes right here, but for instance, if this said 12 minutes instead of 2 minutes and the pizza hit the deck, and you hear the bell, as soon as you hear the bell, then you need to write down the time that pizza is currently at. So we said 12 minutes when the pizza hit the table. So we need to make sure right here we write down 12 minutes. We just keep a little note. And if the next ticket comes out and it does the same thing and it's at 11 minutes, we need to write down here 11 minutes all the way up until 6:30. So if we have 13 minutes, we have 14 minutes, then we have back down to 11 minutes. We have all of that information kind of in there. At the end, at the 30-minute mark, at 6:30, we need to, or at 6 o'clock, we need to make sure that we average this number right here, the average number of the pizzas in the dine-in and carry-out category, not counting phone orders, not counting deliveries, just in dine-in carry-out. We keep track of those times, then we take the average, and let's say the average came out to be 12 minutes. So you would do that in the correct color code. This would be blue. We would write down 12 minutes, so that way we know for that 6 o'clock right here, that 6 o'clock little snippet of 30 minutes, dine-in and carry-out ticket times are at 12 minutes. So we need to do the same thing for phone orders right over here. Let's say we had phone order that came out in 18 minutes. Then we had the next one come out in 19 minutes. Then the next one in 17 minutes. This right here is very important. It's not going to be the same as dine-in and carry-out. Right here we're going to write down a range. So the average is going to come out at obviously 18 minutes. So 18 minutes falls in to the 15 and 20 minute time on our phone order list. So right here we would write down 15 to 20 minutes. So it's very important that we write down the range and not the actual average for phone orders and for deliveries. So the last thing is with deliveries, we write down the time that the delivery driver comes back. So when you hear that door open, we need to make sure we are going to the delivery screen, which I'll show you right here. It's going to be right here. So we're going to go back to the main menu and then that button right there, delivery. So we can see all of our current deliveries. So if this one, which was not completed last night, for instance said 60 minutes, on this top slot right here, 60 minutes total for the entire order, we are going to complete that delivery and then we're going to write down 60 minutes right here. So we need to make sure we're keeping track of the top number and not the bottom number, because the bottom number is how long he's been dispatched, whereas the top number is the total number of minutes that that order has been in the system. So we keep track of that throughout the entire shift. Every single one of these, we keep track of every single one of those, and then we keep track right of here. So that way we can tell right here is nice and easy to tell what the range is. But we also have the exact information on the delivery screen if need be. So we keep track of dine-in, we keep track of phone orders, we keep track of delivery. Hopefully that will let us adjust our staff and our payroll accordingly. That way we can make sure we are providing the best service that we can at all times. So the last thing with the visual control board, I just wanted to emphasize some points really quick. So as you can see right here, as we mentioned, there is a time range associated with phone orders and with deliveries. Now, the important thing to note with your Gen 3, with your, whoever's doing phones, whoever's doing dine-in orders and things like that, that we never say what the time is below the default. So if, for instance, the range for phone orders is 10 to 15 minutes, we never say anything less than the default that is 15 to 20. We never, ever, ever say anything less than the default. We don't want to give a falsified impression, because it just takes 3 or 4 tickets saying at 10 to 15 minutes for orders from all of a sudden go from 10 to 15 minutes to 15 to 20 to 25 to 30. It just takes about 3 or 4 tickets for those ticket numbers, for those ticket times to just skyrocket. So it's very, 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 very important that we never say anything less than the default, even if it is below the default. So if these deliveries, for instance, 35 to 40 minutes only happens if it's a single, if it's one delivery at a time, and it's the only delivery when we have no foreigners and when we have no dine-ins and carryouts. It's a very, very specific time that these ticket times happen, but they do happen from time to time. It's very important that we don't communicate that information. We just say 45 to 60. These green ticket times and everything right here, these are for internal uses only. They're for internal purposes. Only staff members and everyone who's on the clock right now knows that information. The customer needs to just be told the default or higher. So right here, we need to tell the customer 60 to 75 minutes on this delivery, because that's the range we're working with. Right here, we tell the customer 45 to 60 minutes, because that's the range we're working with. Right here, we tell the customer still 45 to 60 minutes, because we do not want to give a falsified impression of our ticket times. We want to make sure that we are getting customers an accurate time, because it just takes 2 or 3 tickets for those tickets to really back up and for us to get really behind, and for all those ticket times to take so much further. It is the same with phone orders. We need to make sure, even if it's 10 to 15 minutes, we do not say 10 to 15 minutes. We say 15 to 20 minutes. We give them the default time or higher, and that is it. In this section, I want to talk a little bit about our policies in the hallway. So the only people allowed in the hallway are members of management and Gem 5. Everyone who's front of house needs to stay in the front of house. Everyone who's heart of house needs to stay in the heart of house. Now, a common thing that happens is that the kitchen members will come up to the front and they'll talk up to all the people in the front, and the people in the front will go to the back and they'll talk to all the people in the back, and they'll get distracted and we'll miss a ticket, we'll miss a topping, we'll miss all those kinds of things. So it just takes half a second's, lapse of focus for people to make a small little mistake, which will cost the restaurant $100, $150, which is a giant waste of money, basically, for a silly little mistake. So it's very important that people stay on task, they stay on target. You can, a little joke here and there is fine. We want to make sure people are, enjoying their job, but it It's just one. All right, guys, let's get back to work. Come on, guys, let's go back to, let's make sure we're waiting on the customers. Let's make sure we're, you know, taking care of all the tickets in the back. Drivers as well, as part of the driver's training, they go up to the front to get their bags counted. They must go back to the back and get with their kitchen lead and do another closing task, do another, you know, deep cleaning task, anything like that. They must go back to the back. They cannot stay in the front and communicate and talk and stand around and do all of that. They need to go back to the back because they're still on the clock. They still need to work while their bag is being counted. So it's very important that we send the driver back to the back, that we just remind them. If you're having trouble with the driver, make sure you get a member of management or the kitchen manager or kitchen lead to get the drivers and reel them back in. So we need to make sure that no front staff is hanging out in the hallway. They're not distracting the Gem 5. They're not distracting anybody back there in the kitchen. They're in the front. They're waiting on all those tables. There's a ton of work that needs to be done here. So there's no time for kind of just idling around and standing by and doing nothing. You need to, there's 1,000 things that need to be done. And if you're really confused and you don't have anything to do, get a manager, because I guarantee you they will have a trillion stuff for you to do. Alrighty, so this next session we're going to talk about being proactive as opposed to reactive. So a lot of times in the course of the restaurant, people are just reactive. They're not really searching out for issues. They just wait for things, wait for people to tell them something's wrong, and then they come up with a fix. Whereas if we solve the problem before there's any problem at all, then we won't have to worry about it at all. It's a lot less stress for everybody. So the goal is to obviously have no issues whatsoever, but it's never going to happen. So our goal is to be proactive in solving these issues. So I have an example ticket rung up right here, and we can see that the small garden salad is at 10 minutes. So in this instance, in this scenario, let's say the customer is super nice, they're super gracious, and they're not very upset. They don't talk to anybody, they're just patiently waiting for their salad. As the expediter, you look at the screen and you see a salad that is at 10 minutes. You should have alarms going off in your head. Something is wrong, something is not right. So you need to ask your Gem 2s to go check on that table, make sure that they got that salad, and then you need to go ask the appetizer station, make sure that that salad went out. So you need to have two senses of quality control. You need to have two instances in which people are checking on items, and which people are actively making sure that this food has gone out. So we need to always be proactive as opposed to reactive, because if we can solve that problem before there's any problem, before the customer gets upset, before they complain and they want to talk to a manager and they want their food comped and everything like that, if we look at this ticket and say, hey, this has been 10 minutes, what's going on? This is crazy, this is double the normal time that we have for a salad, and we solve that problem. We say, oh, a salad, the ticket never printed back there. Okay, well, let's get it remade, let the customer know, it'll be out in another 2 minutes, apologize about the wait, ask if there's anything you can get to them, that sort of thing. And then when the food comes out, everything is fine. They have their salad, the pizza will be following shortly after, followed by the Zeppeli as you saw on the ticket. It'll be nice and things will be a lot smoother. So being proactive as opposed to reactive, and you need to use your experience in this restaurant, in any restaurant, to kind of guide you on that way, on the way. You need to be proactive as opposed to reactive. I can't ever say it enough. So as we know already, things on the appetizer station line only print on the appetizer station line. So everything that, if for instance, this comes into play with deliveries. So if there's a delivery and they only order app station items, they only order spaghetti and breadsticks and salad and a tiramisu, and that's what their meal is. The kitchen line, or the pizza line, has no idea about this ticket, and if the kitchen manager is currently working the pizza line, he has no idea about the ticket, so he doesn't map it, he doesn't take it into account. So it's very important that we as expediters, we try and we follow up and we double check everything, as we already know, but we do it with deliveries as well in multiple instances. So with deliveries, as we said, to get to the delivery screen, you go back to your main menu here, and then you hit the delivery button right here. So it'll show all of the current deliveries and what is on the order. So we need to make sure we go through and we look at this screen Every 30 minutes when we update labor, we look at this screen and we find all the information. We figure out which deliveries have left. We figure out who's dispatched on them so we can make sure that they're dispatched correctly. We figure out which deliveries have come back. That way we can also keep track and make sure our deliveries are going out as fast as we possibly can, as well as we know that every single delivery is going to have the proper item. So it's kind of twofold. So it does that for us to make sure that the kitchen line knows about every single delivery, and it makes sure that these deliveries are going out on time as fast as we can possibly get them to go out. So with being proactive versus reactive, there's a couple of things that you need to do. You need to be dialed in. You need to be tuned in to everything that is going on in the restaurant. You need to be focused. You need to know everything that is currently happening in the restaurant. So when a phone rings, you need to be able to hear it and you know that someone is on the line. If another phone rings, you know 2 phones are on the line, and we need to make sure that we know where the 3rd phone is and that kind of thing. So it's that you need to listen to when drivers come through the door so we can complete their deliveries. We need to watch the front so we can make sure that their front Gem 1 is not getting overwhelmed. We need to make sure that we are constantly dialed in and tuned into the things around us. So this next section is going to be called the what if section. So it's going to cover a lot of things, a lot of common issues that are happening currently, like that happen every single night in the restaurant. So one common thing that happens is phones ringing off the hook. So after the first phone rings, you keep mental note, hey, phone just rang, okay, so have the second phone ready. Make sure that they have the second phone ready. We have someone to answer the phone. Second phone rings 2 seconds after the first phone rings. So you get the second phone, you get someone else to answer the second phone, you throw it on hold, you put it next to the Gem 3. After they're done with the first call, they can finish the second call. The third phone rings now, so now we're in a situation. We have 3 phones on hold. So what we need to do is we need to ding the bell, get someone else to come over and help us, and get them to answer the phone for us to kind of relieve some of the stress off of the Gem 3. So it is very important that we are dialed in, we are tuned into the things around us. Another situation is in the front. If there's too many people at the front, there's only one Gem 1, there are way too many people at the front, we ding the bell, we get someone else to go jump over and help out at the front. We have a Gem 2 jump over and help out. We have a Gem 3, if they're not doing anything, jump over and help out. We make sure that we are tuned into the things around us. That way we can adjust accordingly. We can get all of the service needs that we have met. So another common error that happens is that somebody will come in and they'll ask for a carry-out order for Jessica. They'll ask where the order for Jessica is. So whoever's helping them, the Gem 2 or whatever, will go back to the back. They'll look for the order for Jessica. Jessica's not anywhere to be found. It's not anywhere on the line. It's not anywhere in the deck oven. It's not anywhere. Their pizza is not anywhere. So here is what you need to do. Have the Gem 2 let you know first and foremost. Make sure that they know to let you know that they can't find the ticket. From there, you will need to ask the Gem 2 to go back up to the front and ask Jessica what is on her order. Find out what is on her order. Find out her phone number. Find out all of that kinds of information so that we can look for the ticket as opposed to the pizzas. We're looking for the ticket and not the pizzas. So we go through the system, and before we do any of that, we need to see if Jessica's in the system first of all. So we need to find Jessica. If Jessica's not in the system, we look for the phone number. We look for her actual order. We look for her pizzas back on the pizza line. What commonly happens is that Jessica's husband, let's say Brian, will actually order the food and put it under his name. He'll put it under Brian instead of putting it under Jessica, or he'll put it under a different name. So most of the time when that happens, it's under a different name. It's under the name of the person who called and not the person who picked it up. So what you need to do is you need to look for phone numbers. You need to look for, you need to ask if it could be under any other name, and you need to look for the actual ticket itself. You need to look for the items that are on there. So if the person doesn't know the actual items that are on their food, which happens a lot too, the wife will call in the order and so like she'll order, and then the husband will come in and say, I don't know, my wife ordered it, I'm just here to pick it up. Something along those lines. That happens all the time, whether it's vice versa or something. What needs to happen is you will need to look up by phone number. So get the phone number from that person and look for the phone number, or look for the wife's name, or look for another name. Look for all of these little pieces of information. Try and put the puzzle together so you can get the customer their food. at the end of the day, sometimes there are orders that are just not in the system. The person on phones didn't hit send. The person in front didn't hit send. They didn't ring up the order when they thought they did. The online order didn't get approved. Any of that information. If you can't find the order and you know it's not anywhere to be found, you need to get the kitchen to remake that order as fast as humanly possible. So you need to make sure you re-ring up that order, you go back to the kitchen and you let them know, hey, this ticket did not print, or this ticket blah blah blah, or any of the information that's relevant, and then just say, I need this out as fast as you can make it. So we need to make sure that that food comes out as fast as possible, because on top of waiting 20 to 25 minutes for our standard phone order time, they have to wait an extra time for us to actually make the order. So they already have to, like, they're already handicapped about 10 minutes. So we have to make sure we get that food out as fast as possible. With every single order that goes through the system, that goes through the kitchen, everything like that, whether it's you can't find the order, or it's under a different name or anything like that, and you had to re-ring up an order, or someone goes back to the back and they circle a ticket saying it's here. Every single time something like that happens, you need to make sure yourself with your own eyes that that ticket is circled. Then you need to hear it with your own ears, the kitchen leads say, I know this person is here, I'm going to make this order. You need to follow up and make sure that all of this stuff is happening, because if no one else does it, there's no one holding each other accountable, so things can fall through the cracks. So Gem 5 needs to hold everybody in the restaurant accountable. They need to go back to the back and say, hey, I know I told you 6 times, but I'm telling you a 7th time, this person is here, we need their order out as fast as we can. So the next important thing, and probably the most important thing for keeping yourself organized, along with the visual control board, is anyone and everyone who goes into the hallway, whether it's Gem 2, Gem 1, Gem 3, kitchen lead, kitchen manager, the cutter, anything. Anytime someone enters your bubble, you need to know why. You need to be informed about every single thing that happens. So whenever Gem 2 is checking on an order, they don't always feel the need, even though it's policy, to tell you that Jennifer's order is here, and that they're circling the ticket, and that it's going to be about 3 minutes and that kind of thing, and then they just walk back up to the front. They don't tell you that information. So a lot of times what will need to happen is that you will need to ask. So whenever someone comes into the hallway, you need to say, hey, what are you doing here? What can I do for you? What's going on? Is there an order that's here? Is you need to circle on something, like, and be proactive and solve that issue before it becomes an issue. Because if they come back and they look for Jennifer's order and then they forget to circle the ticket, kitchen staff still thinks the phone order needs about 10 more minutes, and it's going to be about 10 more minutes before that food comes out. Informed about every single thing that happens in the kitchen, in the hallway. So, just to reiterate, just to re-emphasize the fact, if a Gem 2 comes back and they say, hey, an order for Jennifer's here, and they let you know, and they walk back to the back, you don't see what they do back there, and they come back up to the front, you will need to stop them and ask them, hey, did you circle that ticket? And they'll say, oh no, I forgot, sorry, and they'll go back to the back and they'll recircle the ticket. Or they'll say, yeah, of course I circled the ticket. Either way, you made sure that that ticket is circled. So as well as doing that, you need to trust them, but also verify. So like we said before, go back there, make sure that that ticket is circled and you know where it is, so that if it's on the pizza line, it's going to be about 6 or 7 more minutes, and in 6 to 7 more minutes you can check on it again. Or if it's in the oven, it's going to be about 5 minutes. So in about 5 minutes you can go back there and you can check on it again, and you can ensure, you can follow up, you can follow through and make sure that all of this food is coming out as we promised. So finally, the most important piece of information that I can give you about Gem 5 is that you keep yourself organized before things get hectic, before things get crazy. So that way, during the rush, you are organized, you are ready, you are prepared for anything that happens. So 100%, you need to make sure that you stay organized at all times and you get yourself organized before anything happens. Gem 5 is a very important position to the restaurant because they're the only ones tasked to following through on items, so that if someone forgets policy, if someone forgets something, we make sure that it's still going out as fast as possible, that we're still getting the customers the fastest service that we possibly can, with the best quality food, with everything that we can possibly do to the best of our possible capabilities. So everything that we do goes through Gem 5, so you need to make sure that you are on top of the ball with Gem 5, because it is probably one of the most important positions in the restaurant. Thank you. Also, if at any given point in time you have any questions about anything at all, you make sure you ask someone, because you are holding everyone else accountable and no one is holding you accountable. So you need to make sure that you know exactly what you're doing. If you have a question about anything, I'll say it again, you need to ask someone. You need to make sure that you know how to do everything that you are responsible with doing.